Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Turk Logan, and welcome to the Funk Chronicles. Turk Logan from Logan Communication and WTRK Internet Radio. With me today is the very esteemed Senator, State Senator Bill Beagle. How you doing, Senator?
I'm doing great, Turk. Thanks for having me here today.
You're quite welcome. Let me tell you a story that you,
Okay.
that you don't know.
Okay.
In 1980, when I was in Dayton Radio, I used to do a show called Backpage.
Okay.
I received a call from the governor of California in 1980, who was Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
He wanted to be on my radio station for an interview because he was challenging Jimmy Carter.
Sure.
And I said, okay, fine. You know, my boss was a Republican.
Okay.
So I'm going to help to satisfy the boss.
Sure.
And I interviewed Governor Reagan on the phone.
Wow.
And he was very warm, very personable, told me what he was going to do for minority business if he
Right.
became president.
Right.
And he beat Jimmy Carter in 1980.
By a little bit, yes.
Yeah. In 1984, I had just left radio and wanted to serve the community. And I talked with a guy that you probably know, Pat Flanagan.
Oh, sure.
And Pat Flanagan was the chair of the Republican Party.
Right.
Submitted a proposal to him and got endorsed as a candidate for state representative.
Ah.
Ronald Reagan started his Whistle Stop tour in Dayton, Ohio in 1984.
Sure.
He called me again, remembered me from 1980, and asked me to sit on stage with him,
Wow.
which was truly an honor. And I'm sitting on stage, which started at the Courthouse Square. That's where he started his Whistle Stop tour in 1984.
Wow.
I'm sitting on stage behind the President of the United States. We had just taken pictures together. I'm kind of in awe, even though I'm still an endorsed candidate for state representative. And he leaned back to me, he said, Mr. Logan, what do you think about this campaign? I said, well, Mr. President, you know, I've got some odds I have to overcome, but I'm going to give it 100%. And he said to me, what do you think about me? I've been shot already. And I said to him, I said, well, Mr. President, it can always be worse.
That's right.
And he turned around and we went on with the program. On that stage was Woody Hayes, Ronald Reagan, and just some great names doing that campaign. And I wanted to share that with you because,
what a great story.
Yeah, that's a great story. And when David Webb told me that you were coming, and you know, I said, hey, this is a good time to share that story that I've been holding for a long time. Give me your assessment of President Obama's speech recently, the State of the Union.
Well, it certainly was interesting, and I think my reaction is I tend to look at the ideas that are presented and not so much the style in which it's presented.
Right.
And it's a little troubling. I think we all admire the goals of you know, helping those who need help.
Sure.
Helping the middle class.
Sure.
And giving those who need a hand up, and those are goals we can all get behind.
Right.
It's the manner in which we try and provide that help that I think we begin to have a divergence of ideas. And so, although I think we're all supportive of community colleges, and we're all supportive of people reaching their potential, and helping those, and there's many of them who are working hard and struggling to make ends meet. In the end, you know, how we do that is a challenge, and the idea of just more taxes and taxing success and punishing success is something I have a challenge with. So let's talk about other ways that maybe we can make community college more affordable. What are some ways that we can make post-secondary education, maybe you know, training for skilled trades, for example, something more available. So let's, you know, we can all agree on the problem, and but let's continue the conversation. I think that's the important part. So so you know, in listening, you you just try and sort through
Sure.
all the applause and the jabs and the counter jabs, and try and focus on the quality of the message, and that's what I was trying to focus on, and we all agree on the problem. So let's continue conversations, and I hope Washington does work towards. I hope there's things going on.
I hope we start working together from that standpoint.
And I know that there's a lot going on in the state where we work with the other party, the minority party. You know, it doesn't always make headlines.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that there's more going on
Sure.
than maybe you and I are aware of that might move the country forward.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about Bill Beagle.
Well, I don't have any great Ronald Reagan stories. That's sad. That's hard to compete with. You know, I was raised primarily in Chicago and Cleveland. Went to Miami University where I met my wife, and my wife is a Northmont graduate.
Okay.
And after going to Cleveland for a few years after graduation, she came back to work in her family business, and I was a banker at the time, so I transferred down. So about 1990, I relocated from Cleveland down to Dayton permanently, live up in Miami County in half of the 20-something years that I've been here, and worked in banking. And as a banker, you know, they want us out involved in the community.
Sure.
So I spent a lot of time getting involved in Tip City in Miami County, and held a number of positions. You know, in 1996, I left the workforce, 1999, I left the workforce to become a full-time stay-at-home dad.
Okay.
And that was a life-changing moment for...
How many children?
I have 3.
Okay.
And I still have 3. So it's good news that we'd had our 3rd child, and economically it made sense, and just as a family perspective, you know, we're going to have dad stay home. So I started a group called Dayton Dads at Home, and using the internet to give the impression that there is a group of dads at home in the Dayton area, and if you're one of us, come join us. And gosh, about a year later, I had 3 other fathers who were willing to get together at a park down in Kettering. And we just kind of took off from there. From my volunteering at the community, I knew some people at the local newspaper who sent a reporter, and they kind of watched these 4 dads play and take a few pictures, and we got to know each other a little bit. And before long, we had 40 guys on our email list. We had about 20 active members. There is actually a national convention of at-home dads that we were traveling to. So very active in People Magazine contacted us and all this. So I'm active in the stay-at-home dad community. And then I began to get more involved in my community. You know, I have an education, and needed a break from the kids, frankly. So I'm out at night volunteering, and I wound up on the city council in Tip City, Ohio. After somebody moved out of town, and some friends said, you know, you know numbers, you've been active in the community, maybe you should apply for that position, and I did, and I was picked from among several applicants. And so I found myself on the city council. I got involved in Republican politics at that time. And after about 6.5 years, I stepped down and was looking for something else to do. And lo and behold, I decided to run for the state senate in a very challenging race in a very 50-50 district against an incumbent. And we were lucky in 2010 to, through a lot of hard work and some tailwinds, we were able to win a seat. And I've been in the state senate since 2011, and still have 3 children, and I still have my wife who's running her family business now, and things can be going better.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
you. What are some of the highlights as a U.S. state senator that you can talk about since 2011? Well,
it's interesting you mentioned highlights. If I can substitute the word memorable, you know, the first thing we did, I experienced when I got there, was the Senate Bill 5 bill. So it was my 3rd committee meeting. And
Senate Bill 5?
Senate Bill 5 was the public sector collective bargaining reform. As the Senate Bill 5 was in 2011. And it's a good point, because there's always a Senate Bill 5. We start over again every couple years. So there's been many Senate Bill 5s. But in 2011, Senate Bill 5 was a collective bargaining reform. And it was my 3rd committee meeting, and it just caused a lot of strife in Ohio between organized labor and supporters of organized labor, and the business community and the municipal community. And it was a great learning experience on how things maybe should and shouldn't be done. That was very memorable.
Right.
We also worked a lot on budgeting, which isn't very exciting to talk about, but Ohio was in bad shape in 2011 with you know, revenue dropping, expenses going up, and we had to make some very difficult choices.
Sure.
Those were all memorable because you know, nobody likes change. Nobody likes if I've got $1 today and you tell me I'm going to get 80 cents tomorrow. Those are tough. Those are tough messages. So my first couple years here were very challenging in terms of making difficult choices in terms of policy for education and how we evaluate our teachers, how do we evaluate our schools, how do we spend our money, and just one policy decision after another. In the meantime, personally, you become, you get to know U.S. senators, you get to know U.S. congressmen, you get to know governors and other statewide elected officials that your children get their picture taken with them from time to time. You get bills signed by the governor, and your children are there, and people close to you. And some memorable things also include, being able to help people. My adoption has touched my life in a number of ways. And Ohio had an unusual law where if you were born between 1964 and 1996, you couldn't access your original birth records.
Right.
And for years, adoption supporters have been looking to change that law, and we were able to get that changed last year.
Congratulations.
And it was very interesting how all the fights that have gone on over the years, and just sometimes the timing is just right.
Right.
And we got this bill through, and the governor signed it, and so to be standing there with these adoption advocates who'd been fighting for this for 20 years, and knowing that in a matter of about a year and a half, these folks were going to be able to go and find out who their birth parents are, and just how touched they were by that.
Right.
That's something that's very memorable. Not something that caught a lot of headlines, but I think years down the road, when you think about what did I do in the state Senate, I think I'm going to look back to that bill as one of the most important ones.
Well, back in 1971, I was a young radio announcer.
Okay.
And had the opportunity to play music that today we call funk.
Uh-huh.
Now, back then, it wasn't quite as simple as it is today because funk wasn't very popular. The word funk wasn't very popular.
Okay.
And you had to be very, very careful being on a microphone that you didn't slip and say the other word.
Right.
For several reasons. One, it was against the law, it was against FCC rules and regulations. It still is today. And secondly, the owner of the station would sit there, and he sometimes thought when you say the word funk, F-U-N-K,
Right.
that he heard the other word,
Sure,
and he
sure.
would call you on the carpet and say, "What did you say?" So it wasn't that simple. But here we are 44 years later, and we're talking about the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center.
Right.
And I've been honored and privileged to be a part of the building of this organization along with David Webb and his organization. How can we get you and other people involved to assist us with this dream and this vision that we all have?
Sure. Well, I met David by happenstance. I was out at a Hispanic Chamber event. So, and then he turned on his charm and his salesmanship, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the effort's going to fall on you and David and his team to reach out.
Right.
You want your legislators to be aware of what it is you're doing.
Right.
For a variety of reasons. There's a lot of hats we wear in the Senate.
Sure.
There's a lot of hats you wear in the General Assembly, as you know.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a financial one, and maybe there's financial support available. Sometimes we connect dots for people because we know a lot of people in the community, and hey, we know somebody who can help you in this, who has this type of expertise, for example. And then also, there's just the fact that the media may print what we say. We have social media available to us.
Right.
That we can, you can leverage us for some media exposure as well as some other types of support. But to do that, we need to understand what it is that you're up to and why it's important.
Sure.
And our days are filled. Hopefully, if we're doing our jobs, even though we're a part-time legislator, our days are filled with meetings and tours and opportunities to deepen our knowledge about things. And so you kind of need to elbow your way in there and get in front of us, kind of like you and I are now, minus the cameras and the lights. just introduce the legislators, and even at the county level, and even a municipal level, to this is who we are, this is why it's important, how can you help us, keep us in mind, and just build a relationship, because government, above all, is a relationship business.
Sure it
and
is.
you know that from your interaction with President Reagan. He was warm.
Right.
You know, you connected with him on a phone call of all things, and he remembered you 4 years later, and all. You know, that's a relationship guy,
Sure it
right?
is. Exactly.
And you can
Great communicator.
Correct, and you can build those. You know, we do not have the ability. You know, it's tough for us to do investigating and go out and see what all is going on in our community. So it is, because we have so many people calling us and inviting us to things. You just got to be part of that, and we'll get that. Hopefully. Get that attention. You're not going to get everybody's attention. Not everybody's going to buy in.
Sure.
We all have our passions. We all have the things that excite us and the things that we really throw our weight behind. But we work well together as a regional group, whether you're in the House or the Senate or Democrat or Republican.
Sure.
We know, they're the education person, they're the workforce person, they know insurance, and you just kind of all work together. You defer to others on certain areas of expertise. So you need to win a few of us over, and you know, I'm certainly among them. But as you continue to build those relationships,
they're important. I know. I spent 23 years at Central State University, and during 10 of those 23 years, I traveled with the university president.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that the first George Bush called the presidents from HBCUs, historically black and colleges and universities, in to talk about his initiative. And going into the White House Rose Garden was just an awesome experience. I mean, I wasn't the priority. The president of the university was the priority. But just being there and listening to the president of the United States talk, going to, like you said, Columbus on a regular basis with the president, lobbying for funding and budgets and things of this nature that came out every year. So been there, done that with the president, not on my benefit, but with the president of the university, and know how some of the things work, all the way back to the great C.J. McLean Jr.
That's right.
And so some of the things you said, and I think that what David has, his vision, and what excites me about it, you know, I'm a kind of an old school guy, kind of the senior member right now, but what excites me about it is he seems to be the type of guy that has already thought about the process before the process starts.
Good.
And something that I would do, I'd say, well, we need a politician that we need to talk to. I would say that, and he was already saying, well, you know, we got Senator Beagle coming on. We want you to interview him, and I'm like, and these things are starting to fall in place.
Good. Yeah, you need a vision. That's right.
Yeah, you need a vision, and that's a good thing, because communication, effective communication, and obviously I would say that having a background in communication is so important.
Sure.
That we stay in touch, that we let you guys know what's going on, because this building, this brick and mortar that we're talking about at some point in time needs to come to fruition, and it's going to take a lot of people to make that happen.
It is. A lot of people, and you know, government probably has a role. Probably government at each level, you know, probably has some sort of role. At the local level, there's zoning issues, there's utility issues that are, you know, and the county has some of those similar aspects. And you know, we fund the Ohio Arts Council. We have capital budgets. You know, maybe there's mechanisms there and levers there that we can use to direct money to help the region in a number of ways. The Art Museum was a big beneficiary recently of some of those dollars to. You know, these are important community assets, and it's important you guys be part of that, because I had no idea of the funk story, even though I lived here for many years.
And a lot of people don't.
That's right.
And I tell people, when I left radio, and Dayton radio, and went to Central State in 1983, when I left Dayton radio, I left with the highest ratings in the history of radio. And I say that because if everybody black in the community was listening to WDAO during that time, the ratings were taken, we never get more than 8 share of the market. We had a 20.7 share of the market, the highest ratings in the history. Who else was listening?
Right.
Okay, and there's not a day that doesn't go by there where I'm out somewhere, somebody doesn't stop me and say, "You sure look familiar." You know, see a little gray in the mustache and in the beard, but they say, "You sure look familiar," and that's a good thing. Some 40 plus years later.
That's true. That's impressive.
And yeah, I think it's been a great journey, a great career, and it's continuing thanks to David and the Funk Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Turk Logan, and you're listening to the Funk Chronicles. We have esteemed Senator Bill Beagle with us. Where are you? What's your vision? Where are you going tomorrow? What's happening in the future for the senator?
For the senator, well, you know, I just got reelected, so I've got another 4 years to stay focused on the Miami Valley. We do think regionally. You know, I was asked, are we in the district or not? And you know, we don't necessarily think along those lines. You know, we're trying to help Dayton. You know, continue to get these jobs back. Continue to make sure that our kids get educated. Excellent. And so I've got 4 years to focus on putting people back to work, getting the kids educated so they're ready, because you know, for all the people who need jobs, there's a lot of employers saying, I can't find workers because they don't have the skills, they can't pass a drug test, any number of things. So there's a lot of issues. Right. What I learned from my experience in transitioning to the state senate is that never say never, and just keep your options open, because when I left the Tip City Council, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to contribute to my community somehow. And so I don't really know, you know, we have term limits in Ohio, so this is my last term. Whether I go to the Ohio House or whether I go back and run a business, I have an apartment business up in Miami County, or some other form. Maybe I'm just back to volunteering and doing some things, but you can bet I'm going to be giving back to the community somehow and staying here in the area. And trying to make lives better for people. I've been very blessed, and I think it's important we pass that on. Well,
blessings are very important, because I have myself, I know that I did something that was off the grid when I first went to Central State University, being a predominantly HBCU. Sure. I banned all rap music. When I walked into the station in 1986, and I did it without asking any permission to do it, and which made me the bad guy.
Sure.
Because kids coming from inner city, wherever inner city was, Chicago, Detroit, Dayton, the first thing that they wanted to hear on their radio station, especially ones majoring in communication, was rap music.
Sure.
And what I've said to them was, violent music makes violent kids. And we have transitioned from that, and from where it was, you know, 30, 35, 40 years ago to where it is now. So consequently, and today when those youngsters come back from homecoming with their families, they thank me for that, for that position I took some 20 years ago. Senator, it's been an honor.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
And
it's my
pleasure being here.
Please
Please come back and see
this again. I was going to say, love to see this.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Nice meeting you.
Turk Logan for the Funk Chronicles. Thanks for watching.